I am doing another book haul. I try not to do too many in the same way that I try not to buy too many books, but sometimes you come across astounding deals and they start stacking up, and I like to do a book haul before I pretend that I have places to shelve these. I'm going to start off with the one book I paid retail price for, and that was Dungeon Crawler Carl. It's a hardcover and it's a first edition, first printing. I picked it up because I know that I'm going to really like the series, and I just love this cover. It's so good. So many modern covers are just like graphic design is my hobby, and I hate them, but this one's pretty good. It kind of does like I've heard the series does, and just kind of takes the tropes you would expect and kind of turns them on their head or does them better. I'm really happy I picked that up. These next two I picked up at Recycled Books, of course. I didn't get very many books there this time. I only picked up two. One of them I've been looking for a very long time, and that is Secret Windows, Essays and Fiction on the Craft of Writing by Stephen King. This one was a Book of the Month club, and they're kind of hard to get. I wouldn't say they're hard to get. It's that I don't want to pay what they cost on like eBay and stuff, like $30 or something. And this one's in really good shape. It was $8. I wasn't going to pass it up. And the great thing about this is it has some of Stephen King's writing from when he was a teenager, like when he was writing in a newspaper made by his older brother. Just all sorts of interesting things. Some of them are cut from other things I already own of his, but I think this is a really good complement to his autobiography / guide to writing on Writing by Stephen King. I highly recommend this to anyone that can get to it. I've already started browsing through it and really enjoying what I found. This next book, I've never read anything by this author, but I wasn't going to say no to a $4 signed copy of Downtown by Ed McBain. Now, I don't think this is his traditional storytelling because this isn't about his crime series, 87th Precinct, I think. Yeah, but I wasn't going to say no. It's signed. It's immaculate. It's got a Bro Dart. I have already said it before, but I am much more likely to pick up a book if it already has a Bro Dart on it. Don't know why. Well, I do know why, because Bro Darts cost like $1 and they're a pain in the butt to put on your books. After that, my wife and I went to a thrift shop that I've never been to before. We didn't know about it, and wow, did I find some amazing stuff. So Jake from Pulp Mortem is the one that told me about this thrift shop, and he said, don't worry about looking in the science fiction. I already picked all of it. And I'm like, oh, okay. There was no interesting science fiction, so he was correct. But what I did find was some phenomenal stuff. So William Manchester is probably at the top of my list of favorite nonfiction writers, and I found One Brief Shining Moment, Remembering Kennedy. He was friends with Kennedy. So he wrote this after Kennedy was assassinated, and it's got just lots of pictures, just lots of details about Kennedy's life. It's like the ultimate coffee table book from one of my favorite writers about a subject that I've spent way too much time on. Not like the loony conspiracy theory stuff. It's just very interesting. And as a side note, I'll put a link in the description. The Rest is History did like 7 episodes, I think, on the JFK assassination. I'll share that in the description. It's very, very good. Like they go from the very beginning of like Kennedy's origin story up to his election, and then the assassination, and they break down the assassination like minute by minute. Every character in it, they cover everybody. It's very, very in-depth and very, very good. And they have an episode dedicated to debunking conspiracies. It is very cool. I picked up a lot of stuff from the thrift shop because the paperbacks were $1 or $2. I can't remember. I think they were $1. And then the hardcovers were like $2 or $3, depending on what you got. And I found a book I've been looking for a while, and that's Old Nathan by David Drake. Old Nathan is kind of his homage to Manly Wade Wellman's John the Balladeer. This takes place in like the late 1700s, early 1800s in America, and you have Old Nathan, who's like a hedge wizard, and it's just really cool. I've heard good things about it. I had an ebook, but I was more than happy to find a paperback because it was never printed as a hardcover, and so this will be good. I really want to get into David Drake. I have the Nightshade Books Volume 1 of Hammer Slammers, and then I picked up Old Nathan, and then I found Birds of Prey in this really cool, kind of weird sized trade paperback. And this is Roman Courage Against Alien Ferocity in a Battle of the Ages. You have Aulus Perinius, an Imperial secret agent who's just tough and ruthless, and he is trying to hold together parts of Rome as they are falling apart with the barbarians at the gate and all of that in 262 AD. And then aliens basically show show up. And then it's Rome fighting aliens. And I'm like, okay, I can get down with that. That sounds ludicrous in all of the best ways. And so between Hammer Slammers, Birds of Prey, and Old Nathan, I think I'll be able to figure out whether or not I like David Drake. I found a really cool book there, and it was from the Denton Public Library, and it is The Best of the West, edited by Joe R. Lansdale. And Joe R. Lansdale is known for writing crime thrillers and like horror-ish stuff that takes place in Texas. So for him to be editing an anthology of Western writing from the Western writers of America, pretty cool. And that it's from a library I spent a lot of time at when I was about 19, 20 years old, because your boy was very broke. I made almost no money, and I lived in a very tiny apartment with my girlfriend, who is now my wife. And so the library was my escape. I mean, I read so many books back then. That is when I read A Song of Ice and Fire, just back to back to back to back until, of course, I got to the 4th book because that was all that was out at the time. And then I was like, where book 5? Yeah, that was like my formative years of reading after I got out of school. And it's just really cool to now have a book from a library that meant so much to me. I don't recognize any of the writers, though. There's Brian Garfield, Chad Oliver. Oh, I do recognize one. Gary Paulson is in here. He was one of my favorite writers when I was a kid. You know, he wrote Hatchet, Brian's Winter, The River, Brian's Return. I love those books. They were like some of the earliest things I really spent a lot of time reading. But yeah, this is cool. And this will be fun. It's like a read one every once in a while kind of thing. I'm not going to power through it. I have a lot of those now. I should probably start dedicating more time to those. Thanks to Steve Donahue, I found out about Billy Boyle, a World War II detective. And this is the first one. And this is like a first edition, but like a billionth printing or something. Oh no, it's first edition, first printing. Even better. And this is about a guy who doesn't think he's a very good detective. And he basically gets into Eisenhower's army administration as like a detective trying to solve a mystery. And it seems fascinating. Not only do I love World War II novels, I love mystery novels. And then for Steve to say that he adores this series, I'm like, oh, cool. Sold. That was easy. This being Novella November, I'm always on the lookout for interesting books about writing. And I found Woe Is I, The Grammarphobe's Guide to Better English in Plain English by Patricia T. O'Connor. The thing that sold me on it was, one, it was like $2. And also on the front, the best thing to happen to grammar since Strunk and White. And I'm like, oh, cool. And then I cracked it open, and yeah, it's got some very good, easy guides on words that you should replace with other ones and stuff like that. I don't know what it is about writing, but sometimes my writing is just fine, but then I look at it and I'm like, there is something wrong with this and I cannot figure out what it is. And so I like reading these style of books, and they're fun to skim too. If I have a problem, I can address it in there, or I guess I could use ChatGPT or something. As a quick aside, I have a lot of quick asides, but anyways, I was using Microsoft Office 360 or 365, whatever it's called. And the autocorrect in there that I think has some AI behind it or something fetishizes commas. I mean, holy crap. I don't know if it's just the way I write requires a ton of commas, but every single sentence I write, it's like, hey, this needs a comma here. This needs a comma here. Oh, you need to put a comma next to that comma. And I'm like, is this the program being stupid, or is it me being stupid? Anyways, since it's still Novella November and I like books about writing, and that one mentioned Strunk and White, I heard about this from a commenter on my video about writing. Really appreciate the recommendation. I ordered it as soon as you told me about it. Spunk and Bite, A Writer's Guide to Bold Contemporary Style by Arthur Plotnick. Now this one is like a edgy writing guide to throw Strunk and White out the window. We don't need elements of style. We need real style, our own style kind of thing. So I think this is interesting because it's good to get a wide range of how you should be writing. The argument in this one is that elements of style is the gold standard, but also it standardizes your writing to a point that you don't stand out. And so this is like a way to figure out how to stand out again or develop your own style, which is very cool. And I'm looking forward to that. Thrift shops are dangerous. So I went to one on a date with my wife. Then we went to another one a couple days later. And so the last few books are interspersed between those two places. I got a copy of Killers of the Flower Moon without a stupid, hey, it's a movie now sticker or cover on it or anything. This is actually a first edition hardcover, and I'm really looking forward to reading this. I hope it is good. I don't know. I tend to be that insufferable person where time someone mentions a movie, I'm like, oh, I read the book, I haven't seen the movie, and then that conversation just ends, or they start explaining the movie to me, and I'm like, hey, that's not in the book, or hey, that's exactly what's in the book. I got this because it was an interesting read and also to keep being annoying. These next few, my wife found these because we are both addicted to John D. MacDonald. And when she grabbed them, I was like, oh, okay, cool. Hopefully we didn't get any duplicates. I think we only got one duplicate, but that's okay because I don't really care. I just finished this book, The Girl in the Plain Brown Wrapper. Very, very good. Travis McGee novel. And then we got Cinnamon Skin, another Travis McGee novel. I have a critique of this one. Every one of them is supposed to have like a color. Cinnamon ain't a color, it's a flavor, because cinnamon is brown. But anyways, I guess he considers it a color. What do I know? After that, we found some interesting John D. MacDonald stuff. Cry Hard, Cry Fast. I love the description on the back. It's just like sentence, 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 like these little things. Cry Hard, Cry Fast. A gunman on the run. A 16-year-old chick. A used up B-girl. A guilt-stricken widower, a leftover mistress, all zeroing in on a route to sudden death. All right, man. That sounds interesting. I have a problem with this one, though. We didn't realize it, but the spine's broken and I got a page coming out. So I'm going to have to baby this one and maybe read it as an ebook if I can find a copy. It's a very short book. This is one of those things I'd love to just sit down and read in one sitting. Maybe I will someday. We also got A Bullet for Cinderella. A fortune in stolen loot was buried somewhere in that small town, and at least 2 men staked their lives on finding it. I've been picking up every John D. MacDonald book I can find because I love the McGee series, and I am assuming I will like everything he has written. Maybe not as much because I won't be as emotionally invested as I am in Travis McGee, but I'm going to like it. I love his writing. Just experiencing his writing is great. I cracked this open and read the first page, and I'm like, yep, that's what I need in my life. This next one, it's a collection of short stories, and I didn't even know that he had a collection of short stories, and that is End of the Tiger and Other Stories by John D. MacDonald. Look at that little tiger, little chopped up tiger. Oh, it's a stuffed animal torn in half. Oh, that's sad. I want to see what he does with short stories because he already writes short novels that are outstanding. So exploring his short fiction should be very, very good. This last one, my wife is super excited about, and we're going to have to baby it because there's no way that you can get a newer copy of this. It is The House Guests by John D. MacDonald. The funny, touching, entertaining, true story of 2 cats and a goose and their adventures with the MacDonald family. So it's talking about his household and like his kids and these wonderful little pets. Okay, yeah, I just read the description. I'm so sold on this. Only a writer as talented and perceptive as John D. MacDonald could create such heartwarming and suspenseful adventures out of the cat experience. Whether you love cats or ignore them, you will find this book about John D. MacDonald's cat family filled with fascinating information about animals of all kinds, including humans. His cats are named Roger and Jeffrey, and it's Joffrey with a G. This is going to be wonderful. As a crazy cat enjoyer, knowing that one of my favorite authors of all time was enough of a crazy cat enjoyer to write a book about it brings me nothing but joy. These last few I picked up for like $1 a piece at a thrift shop near my house. I almost picked up 2 copies of this first one, Book Lovers by Emily Henry, but the other one was in kind of rough shape. I wanted to buy the second one just to give to someone, but I didn't want to give them a busted book. Yeah, this one was in great shape. Picked it up for $1. I love Emily Henry. Funny Story was great, and then Happy Place was even better. And I have a few friends who really, really enjoy Book Lovers, so I'm looking forward to getting to that one. It's my next Emily Henry read whenever I finally get to it. I also picked up People We Meet on Vacation, another Emily Henry book. Super happy to have it. I will get to it eventually. I've got to pace myself on her books because they are a little formulaic, and so reading them too close together will just kind of ruin them for me. Now, you know I love The Power of the Dog by Don Winslow, so there was no way I was going to pass up a copy of The Cartel. Even though it's a trade paperback, I would rather have hardcovers, but my copy of The Power of the Dog is a trade paperback, so maybe I'll just complete the trilogy in trade paperback. I'm really looking forward to reading the rest of this series. Yet again, it's one of those things like I don't want to read them too close together because they're so intense, and I don't want the stories to bleed together, and also they're intense, and I don't need any more stress right now than I already have. Like, we're into November, so trying to keep the stress levels down. I'm already stressing out about the Glenn Cook stuff. And this last one, I know very little about, except it's been adapted as a TV show, and that as soon as I shared a picture of it, everyone said they loved the book, and that is Wool by Hugh Howey. And I know it's science fiction, and I think it has to do with dystopian something or other. I'm going to be going into the book completely blind when I finally get to it, but it's one of those books that I've seen enough people that I trust the judgment of recommend it that I had to own a copy, and you don't say no to something like that for $1. I mean, most of these books I picked up really cheap. My advice when it comes to book shopping on the cheap is go to thrift stores. You're going to strike out the majority of the time, but if you can find a thrift store that doesn't have book scanners hitting them all the time, you're going to get lucky a lot. The other way to get lucky is to be interested in hyper niche things like collecting everything John D. MacDonald wrote, because people just leave these behind. I picked up a couple of them for 15 cents each at a bookstore at a thrift shop in Iowa. And I was like, oh wow, what are these doing here? Sweet. And then I go to a regular bookstore and they're there and they're like $8 or something. So hit up some thrift stores. Don't hit up any thrift stores near me. They're mine. Please go away. No, I won't tell you where I live. Yeah, this is a pretty good book haul. Let me know in the comments what your best book find has been lately. And let me know in the comments your secret when it comes to shopping books. Like, you don't have to tell me where you go. Don't dox yourself or anything, but let me know if you have a special place that you go that other people seem to not know about, because I now have a couple of them and my wife and I were just talking about it and we need to go hit one of those up so I can make another book haul way too quickly because I bought too many books. But anyways, thanks for watching. And with that, I'll see you next time.